Hi there and welcome to the post-match reaction live from the car because, Tommy, frankly, it's far too cold
it's absolutely
outside.
Freezing out there.
Yeah.
It's freezing in here as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was an executive decision that was made. But yeah, Rangers have drawn 1-1 with Aris Limassol at home in the penultimate group game in the Europa League. Tommy, I just get your overall thoughts on that performance.
First thing first, Land Rover, make better heaters for your car, right? Because this is cold. Well, I think, there's disappointment from everybody. We were told this was a big month. We came through a disappointment of the Aberdeen result, and then you come into what is, with the best will in the world, the weakest team in this group, in Aris, and they've picked up 4 points, all from us. And they're delighted with that point as well. Actually, their manager was saying in the post-match press conference that they felt that they should have won it.
Yeah.
It's another time when the chips were down and there was something really to play for, and the team haven't delivered. And it was a poor performance. We were kind of in amongst bits of it, but we need to talk about another poor goal that's just reminiscent of Aberdeen and Celtic, etc. Yeah, we can touch on that.
Yeah, straight through the middle. Look, I think the first big talking point of the game that we'll come to, apart from Limassol scoring, which was a woeful goal to concede, as you said. In fact, we'll just talk about it straight. I know. It's almost like we planned this, isn't it? Right, the ball.
I'm so cold, I have no idea what's in the agenda anymore.
That's, to be honest, that's probably a good thing. But yeah, the ball straight through the middle. It's a game we've seen. A goal we've seen in the Old Firm. It's a goal we saw last week against Aberdeen, straight through the middle. And to be fair, the boy Babika, he took it well round Jack Butland, but we should really be stopping that goal at source.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Todd Cantwell that loses it initially up the park, and then it's a relatively simple straight ball right through. And as you say, I'm not going to duplicate. I mean, it is a nice finish because he does take a little bit of calmness into the box, doesn't thrash at it, he goes round Butland and all that. But it's the same thing, and you're just looking for a bit of communication. But if you've got two different sets of centre backs, because you've Goldson in there and you Davies, and now you've got Suter as well. Is it more than just communication? Is it a setup and a positioning thing? Are they told to sit slightly wider or whatever? But teams are evidently going after that. They know that there's a gap there and they're trying to get it. So, Philippe Clement was speaking in the post-match press conference. I don't know why I've just pointed there, because he's not sitting in the back seat. Are you? No, definitely not. Right, and that's going to be great for the people who are listening to this on audio. right. But in terms of, he was talking, listen, we'll keep analysing it. It's a stupid goal to lose, and we don't expect to. He looked fairly frustrated. Yeah. And he was saying, I don't expect to keep losing that. We will change it.
Yeah, I think that's as you said, the angriest I've seen him post-match. You could tell that one hurt. A player you touched on there, I was maybe going to come on to talk about him later, not featured tonight, Connor Goldson. How much did we miss him, do you think? Because I know we touched on it when we were having a chat pre-match, that he talks, he is one of the guys that corrals people and communicates. Did we miss that communication from the centre of defence tonight?
Yeah, I think we did. I mean, lots of people have lots of different opinions about Connor Goldson, and we all know that he can make a howler sometimes, and he's got a tendency to make that howler and then look around for somebody else to point at, right? Yeah. But I don't think anybody would say that he's not the best centre back at the club.
Yep.
And there's a lot of different things to that in terms of being a leader and being a communicator, and sorting out the back four sometimes. That obviously, but then again, he was part of that centre back pairing that lost the goal as well. So that's why I've gone back to, is it a positioning thing? Is it right, you're supposed to pick a man up, the manager wants them to play a certain way, or trying to get them out of playing a certain way, I should say. But yeah, I mean, I think he's still the best defender at the club, and of course we're going to miss him, and I think he was missed tonight. To be fair though, I mean, I don't think Suter and Davies were terrible or anything like that. Shout out to, I think you did this quite a lot in the gantry, Borna Barisic, who stood up to a lot of physical challenges. But yeah, listen, to answer your question directly, yes, we missed Connor Goldson.
Yeah, I think so. I totally take your point there in terms of he was, playing in that Old Firm, playing against the Aberdeen game. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if we bring in a new centre half in January. That's all I'll say about that. But the next big talking point came around 36 minutes. A bit of debate post-match after it about why Cantwell was hooked. I like managers being decisive like that. I know there was a fair bit of criticism. You know, obviously Clement came out post-match and said he wasn't hugging the touchline enough. I think there was maybe a bit of verbals between him and Clement and Cantwell at some point as well. But what did you make of that decision, and are you happy that a manager who has been on record in saying that he doesn't like making substitutes until 60 minutes made a substitute at 36 minutes?
Well, it shows that he wasn't too happy, and I think, I mean, I'm not a big fan of booing substitutions and stuff like that. Although I do think the majority of people in the stadium were booing the fact that they saw Cantwell come off and not Lammers. I think that's where most people's heads were at. But yeah, as you say, Philippe Clement referenced it in the press conference of, listen, I know Todd Cantwell's better as a number 10, he's better in that central position. I've been asking him to play out of position, and he's been doing that. We needed more width, which is why McCausland came on. The telling part to your verbals back and forward was, he said, I'd said this a couple of times to Todd, and I wasn't really getting what I wanted. So no equivocation. I've told you again, I've given you a third chance, you're not doing what I want, I'm going to change you. So it's not a bad wee warning to the rest of the squad, but I don't think it was, certainly Philippe Clement was trying to make it very clear, it wasn't a case of there's daggers drawn between me and Todd Cantwell. It was, I'm asking you to play him out of position, he wasn't really doing what I was asking for him in this game, right, I'm going to bring in McCausland. That kind of worked.
Yeah, I think it was fair enough. It's hard to criticise the decision after McCausland coming on and scoring the goal. I think I'll open the conversation up a bit. You touched on it there. Would you say that perhaps taking Lammers off, shifting Cantwell to the middle and having McCausland out wide, would that have been a bit more suited to the system and the personnel that was on the pitch?
I would have thought so. I think most people probably agree with that. But evidently the manager sticks by his decisions. He's seen something in Lammers that he wants him there. Maybe it was a little bit of a shot of across the bows of Cantwell as well, of you're not listening to me, so therefore you don't get a second chance in this game, I'm going to take you off. But I mean, ultimately Philippe Clement and his staff, much like Michael Beale and his staff before him, are seeing, there we go, I've mentioned
and
it.
that's not a shudder because it's cold, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Remember Michael Beale beat Betis as well, so there we are. But you know, they've seen something in Lammers. Now, I don't think any of us see it, right, in that he's not dangerous, he's not doing enough, but they keep playing him at the expense of Todd Cantwell. That's an interesting conversation in itself, right? That it's continually Todd Cantwell that's asked to go outside and play in a non-natural position. And you think, okay, so are they either saying that, well, one, they're saying they want Lammers on the pitch, and then two, they're saying they want Lammers central and they're willing to give up a central Todd Cantwell. So is that because Lammers just can't play out wide, much like he's not playing centrally to any great degree as well? Or that they see something that they think Sam Lammers will eventually come good?
Yeah, it is interesting that that's two managers now that have persevered with Lammers. And given,
do not come after me in the comments for that. I am not backing Sam Lammers.
Well, think about it, given the amount of players that we have in that 10 position, he is the first choice pick over Lawrence. I know he talked about Lawrence come back from injury, over Cantwell. The man over at Alaves, Hadji. It'll be interesting to see what his contract situation is.
I think that just to be clear on that, I think that landscape changes when you've got a fully fit Tom Lawrence.
Agreed.
I think Lawrence has done enough to show that he's got a little bit more to give in there, and Lammers maybe comes out of the team.
Yeah, you could see Clement talking about that post-match as well, when he said Lawrence perhaps wasn't as decisive as what he normally had been. But yeah, I think that was certainly the nod that going forward he will be in that number 10. Another question that I'll ask you that I saw a lot in the socials was that we were carrying too many players tonight. The names I saw in particular were Tav, Cifuentes and Lammers. I don't think we can afford to... There was moments of Cifuentes showed positivity, but then he was off it for too much of the game to me. What do you think of that statement about that we were carrying too many players tonight?
I think the majority of the team, I would actually probably put a lot more names to that, were off the boil. I mean, really, I wouldn't give too many pass marks to anybody. You know, I mean, people like Butland did their job and all that, unlucky with the goal, not much you can do when he's that exposed. But then you look about and you go, Ross McCausland comes off the bench, gets the goal, plays really well and energetically. Some of that's through the filter of him being young and, you know, expectations. I mean, who else are you starting to look at and say, well, there was more than a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10 or anything? The Tav thing, okay, maybe to an extent. I think he was getting quite exposed because the way that Aris had set up, Kadri was getting quite a lot.
Yeah.
And they certainly in the first half of coming down, and when Tav was tucking in or coming up the pitch, that was their out ball.
Yeah. Because
they weren't getting any joy out of Borna Barisic to any great degree either. That tightened up a little bit in the second half. And then Lammers, we've spoken about him. He's not doing anything. Cifuentes, again, you're right. I thought it shows intent, but for this dynamic, attacking, forward-facing, head-up midfielder, it's really in his shell at the moment. There's a lot of misplaced passes, really simple misplaced passes, and a lack of invention. There was a moment that was probably telling. First half, edge of the box, left-hand side, and he's got, I think it was Sima who's just ducked in behind, or it might have been Danilo, who's ducked in behind the defender still on side. And instead of dinking a little ball, he tries to play an on the ground between 6 legs, and you think, that's not going to work. And that was mirrored in the midfield where he was getting little touches, pulling out of tackles, etc. I think somewhere there might be a player, but it's going to have to be discovered and refined by Clement and his staff. Yeah,
and very quickly at that
and very quickly, yeah.
And the other player that I saw, not getting a bit of stick, but I think people were expecting a bit more from tonight was Danilo up front. I think it's only fair that he gets not singled out, but it's highlighted. He had a couple of chances that I think he had to score, to be quite honest, and for 5-6 million I think it's got to be better in the Europa League.
Yeah, I don't think anybody at this point would say that you look at Danilo, and I think he is a decent player, but I don't think you look at him and you go, he is absolutely clinical.
Yeah.
He's not. Right. He's a 1 in 4, 1 in 5.
Instinct.
Yes, but he'd one where I think it was a bit of a powder puff header. There's one where it comes through to him and he takes an odd touch and then it bounces up and all that. But he had enough. I think he had a couple of chances where, at the minimum, you're looking for him to really work the goalkeeper, so that it's that's a decent save. He never really got going with that. He worked relatively hard, and there were some nice touches, and certainly his play in the first half as he was coming out wide right. Maybe this is one of the reasons why Clement was getting annoyed at Cantwell.
Yeah.
But he was coming out wide right, and then he was, Sima was, coming in central or just off the left, and some of the play between the two of them, balls into the box, was actually quite nice. Some good defending to block them out. But ultimately, another one that didn't do enough on the night. Yeah,
look, I'll try and finish the pod on a positive note.
Don't go changing.
Yeah, I try to do it, but look, the one positive note that I can take out of tonight was that McCausland scored his debut goal for Rangers at Ibrox. I think he took his goal really well, and I think overall he lost the ball a couple of times out wide right, but we had that conversation at Gantry. It was his effort, his endeavour to go and win it back. What did you make of young Ross McCausland's performance tonight at Ibrox?
Yeah, I love all that in terms of, I don't mind players in the forward position losing the ball. It's part and parcel of the game, right? Not every pass is going to end up a killer. Defenders are there for a reason, right? We sometimes tend to get ourselves in a mindset that our forwards play the game and all the other teams' defenders are static, right? It's not quite like that. But yeah, he's willing to keep going. He doesn't get his head down, and that atmosphere swung back and forward tonight in Ibrox. But he keeps going. He challenges his man. He's direct. He's not scared to go outside and inside. Took his goal fantastically well, shifted it, and then right across the keeper. I think it was on the right hand side of the box. Goes across to the left. And yeah, his work ethic was fantastic. Things that we weren't naturally getting from Todd Cantwell. So if you're Philippe Clement, you're looking at it and you go, I'm not being listened to, I need to make a change, and I also want people to see that. I understand people on social media or fans in general saying, right, well, take Lammers off.
Yep.
But maybe the wider point to that was, I've asked you to do me a job.
Yeah.
You're not doing it, and I've had to come to the sidelines in the technical area and tell you a couple of times, and you're still not doing it. It's not about shifting, it's not about turning my team round about you.
Yeah.
It's about you coming off the pitch because I'm the manager. And that's where I think that is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And listen, McCausland got his chance, and I think we touched on it on yesterday's pod. It's Kieran said that these youngsters they get their chance, and it's all about taking them, and I think he's done that.
Yeah.
Look, I think that just about wraps it up for me. I think I'll finish the pod in saying I'm just so disappointed in that tonight. That last 20 minutes of that game, we have it in our own hands to guarantee Europa League qualification into the knockout phases, albeit if it's second in the group. I mean, we had a realistic good chance of finishing top of the group as well, taking that over to Seville and having that in their own hands. 20 minutes, I expect better from that from Rangers, to be honest with you, Tommy.
Yeah, listen, again, this squad, or members of this squad, have been consistent in not taking opportunities that have been presented to them, both in terms of goal chances, but I mean in the wider sense of big moments of get those 3 points, beat Aberdeen, keep the momentum going. So that's where we are with this particular squad. There's going to be more ups and downs. I think lack of consistency is probably still going to haunt us between now and the end of the season until there's another. I mean, you can't go through revamp after revamp, but we know some players will need to be shifted on. It's supposed to be a big month. We've not really started it particularly well. I would say everybody really is taking a beat in that it's all eyes on the cup final.
Yeah.
Win the cup final, everything becomes a little bit better. There's a better feeling. We can point to a trophy in there. Philippe Clement gets one on the board early. League's not gone. Everything's still to play for. So, yeah, it's an interesting one, and that's where we'll get to the where do you take League Cup or do you take in through in Europe or whatever, right? But that's all hypothetical. This has happened. It's disappointing. Back to back disappointing performances. Yeah, we start to look at what else we can do.
Yeah, it's very Rangers, isn't it, to have a game against the top seeds away from home in the Europa League 3 days before the first League Cup final.
So it's going to have to be a strong. You know, that's the thing. And Philippe Clement was asked this as well. Is it, you know, he's going to have to play a strong team, strongest team.
Yeah.
And then he's going to have to bring them back on a flight, and then they're going to have to do a light training or whatever that looks like, and then go into another big game. Ultimately, though, came to Rangers because there was expectation.
Yep.
Right, so going away to beat, it's a team you've beaten at Ibrox,
yep.
So you know you can beat them in a hostile environment, and then coming back for a cup final. There are players out there who would kill for a club like that,
yeah,
and that's what these players need to embrace.
Yeah, 100%. But listen, I think that just about wraps it up on a disappointing night. Well, yeah, Rangers, it's a game we should win. Let's face into that. But listen, thanks everybody for joining us. We will be back on Sunday after the St Mirren game, so we'll see you all then. Take care.